Hello, OCF. This is Pastor Chris. I hope you're all doing well out there, and I hope that you've been able to enjoy some of the videos that we put out, our attempts to engage our congregation, our family, to reach out and say hello and try to minister in this different season. I know Brandon has put out his Word Wednesday video on a little insight into what he's going to be doing for summer prep this week. And I know Ryan and Hannah have been putting out videos for our student ministry. If you paid attention to the initial video that we sent out, we talked about those different rhythms. Well, I wanted to reach out a little bit early because we're going to be having our Fast Friday tomorrow, and I thought it would be good for us to prep a little bit. Fasting is a spiritual discipline that many know about and not as many people partake of. And oftentimes, fasting is either over-spiritualized or undervalued. And biblically, just what fasting is in a basic sense, it's giving up something that we need, usually food or also sometimes drink as well, and giving that up for a period of time for the purpose of drawing near to God. That's just kind of the basic definition of that. But a lot of times people over-spiritualize fasting and think that, well, if I fast, then I'm going to earn something with God. He's going to give me some special insight. He's going to give me this breakthrough. And while God may very well bless us in those ways, people over-spiritualize it and really make the purpose those blessings. And the primary blessing is closeness with God. Anything we get beyond that is secondary, and praise God for it. But the discipline of fasting is about drawing near to God and making God first in our lives. But also, people don't just over-spiritualize. Sometimes they undervalue. They think, well, fasting's too hard, or that's just for certain people, or it's not necessarily a commandment of the Bible. I don't have to do that. And while all those things can be true, fasting has tremendous value for the people of God. And I want to take some time just to share some wisdom for what it might look like to fast, what the Bible has to say in terms of what fasting is all about, and to encourage us to use this discipline when we're in the midst of this quarantine, so that we as a people of God, as our church family, we can draw near to the Lord and be reminded that we need Him more even than other things. So again, the normal picture is you give up food for a specified period of time, and that's for the purpose of drawing near to the Lord. But biblically, fasting is just assumed. In Matthew chapter 6, when Jesus was addressing people when fasting, He says, now when you fast. So it's just assumed that people would be fasting, that you should be fasting, that it's just part of the spiritual life. You should be giving up some of the basic necessities of life, food, so that you could draw near to the Lord. Now, the way that you do that is your body helps you out. When you give up a meal, anybody ever gave up a meal out there, and all of a sudden the hunger pains, your tummy starts to rumble a little bit, you get a physiological reminder of your need for food and your need for nutrition. If you give up beverages, your mouth starts to get a little dry, and you're like, I need some water. I need something to drink, some Gatorade or something like that. And so you have a physiological response. And so giving up, fasting from food and or beverage for a time, it gives us physiological prompts to say, no, I don't need food and I don't need water as much as I need Jesus. And so when the hunger pains set in, when we get thirsty, then we're reminded to say, okay, yes, I need these things, but my biggest need is God. And so we're reminded to go to the Lord, either in study or in prayer. And so we want to invite you to take Fridays to spend some time fasting, to remind yourself that you need God more than anything, even in the midst of this pandemic, even in the midst of some of the food shortages or supply shortages, the needs that people have, some things that maybe we won't have access to. Maybe a lot of those are really wants. But to be reminded that we really, really deeply need Jesus during this time, but all times. And maybe we can discipline ourselves to be dependent on God more and more. Now, if you are new to fasting, if you've never fasted, please don't try to fast for the full day on Friday. You really, really want to kind of train yourself in this. So maybe just take one meal or two meals, lunch or dinner, and set that aside just to devote yourself to the Lord. And the greatest way to do that is take the time that you would have devoted to that meal and spend that in prayer. And really, the best two things to accompany fasting with are either prayer or service. So if you wanted to just take that time to read the Word and pray, or pray for specific people, or maybe serve someone in your family, kind of bless them, do a chore, and do that as a blessing unto God. That's a great way to spend your time fasting. Now, if you're a veteran and you are used to fasting, then by all means, you can set the whole day aside. And again, for all of us, as those hunger pains or our thirst kicks in, if you decide to add liquid to that, and then make those prayer prompts, reminders for you to press into God, or make whatever it is that you're doing, that act of service, something unto God. If you have an underlying medical condition that might prevent you from fasting, you can do a partial fast like Daniel did, where he only ate vegetables. He gave up meat or gave up certain things. You could do that and still hit your nutritional needs, and just be reminded by those changes in rhythm would be your prompts to pray to God. So be wise medically as far as fasting goes, but we really want to set this time aside on Fridays to just be reminded that our deepest need is God. So our primary purpose is God, but you can have secondary purposes. Maybe you want to pray for a specific person, pray for salvation for them. Maybe you want to pray for your block or your building or your neighborhood, that the Lord would just touch people and bless people during this time. Maybe you want to pray for the end of this pandemic. Maybe you want to pray for those who are experiencing job loss and difficult times like that. It's a great way for us to just turn to the Lord and depend on the Lord and seek the Lord in this stuff. And I promise you that He will show up in amazing ways. So let's take our Fridays and give them to the Lord. And remember, when we fast, really it's a personal, it's a confidential thing. You don't want to be out there telling everybody you're fasting and how hungry you are. We want to keep that to ourselves and just be obedient and turn to the Lord. But let's use those as a way to draw near to God as a church. Now have a wonderful week. And again, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. We want to put them out on time next week. We'll have a better rhythm of that stuff. But know that you're loved and you're cared for and you're prayed for. Again, if you have any prayer requests, you can send them into the church. You can go to our website. We're getting that all set up so that it's even easier to interface with. But we love you guys so much. Bless you.